All right. Looks like I am live on YouTube. Let me see if I can go live in the Garden Club. Hoping that my encoder won't mess up. So, oh, I think I might be able to do it. This is so cool. I'm just going to put the title here. Bear with me if you're watching on YouTube. Checking my mic. Go 1 2 1 2. Looks like the live is working. Hello, hello. All right. Shouts out to the better camera this week. Excuse my appearance. I just came from the gym. But I am currently live in the Madam Green Grow Garden Club group. I'm also live on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make my screen that is available on YouTube transition, they'll be able to see me. Boom. All right. Hello. Great. Perfect. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to close my office door and then we'll go ahead and get started. If you are watching live on either platform, I've got both chats up. Be sure to let me know where you are checking in from. If you are watching the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Keisha. I'm the co-founder of Madam Green Grow. This is a special garden club training that I am simultaneously hosting on YouTube and Facebook. So 2 seconds, drop where you're from. I'm going to go ahead and close the door. Give me just yeah. I'm so glad I didn't trip. Lord. All right. Okay, so if you're watching me in the Garden Club, you're watching me live. Hello. If you're watching me on YouTube, there's a little bit of a delay, so I apologize. I'm actually going to do this a little bit differently since I have a live audience on both platforms. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a cute introduction for our YouTube audience. Garden Club folks, bear with me. This intro for the YouTube audience is going to be about 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll brief you all on what's going to happen, bring us all together, get our 15-minute training going, and let y'all go ahead and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. How's it sound? Sounds good? Okay. So, YouTube folks, if you're not familiar with who Madam Green Grow is, I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly who we are. With support for legalization gaining steam, it was disheartening to hear that only 4% of businesses in the cannabis industry were owned by minorities and women of color. We plan to change that. Hi, I'm Jamia Hunter, and I'm Keisha Reed. And we're Madam Green Grow. In 2016, Madam Grow formed as a community-based organization dedicated to the education, promotion, and celebration of women of color in the cannabis industry. Each month, we shift the culture by centering the cannabis station around various topics like business and our community. We that the need for education and resources for gaining access to this industry was the next step, and looking to impact the lives of women of color who just need the keys to start their journey. By expanding our education platform with live and virtual trainers centered around ownership and growth, $1,000 will be the catalyst and infrastructure we need to reach that goal. Thank you for this opportunity. All right, so we are back live on YouTube and in the Garden Club. I'm checking the chat, seeing if there's any questions about the entourage effect. I'm going to jump in and ask the question. Are you familiar what the entourage effect is? If so, go ahead and let us know down in the chat, down in the comments, and I'll give you a bit of time and a little bit of a formal definition based on the research that I've done. What made me actually pick this topic while I'm pulling up my notes is I had a conversation with a few friends of mine, and we've been thinking about, ways in which that we're using cannabis. We tend to use it a little bit more than normal, depending upon the time of the year, the season of the year, which just had me deep dive into research. So definition of the entourage effect based on the internet. I actually got this off of Leafly. I'll drop that article there that actually explains the entourage effect in, really great detail. But the entourage effect is a proposed mechanism by which cannabis compounds act synergistically to modulate the overall psychoactive effects of the plant, primarily by attaching THC and action of THC and CBD. That was a very long, lengthy scientific definition as to what the entourage effect is. But basically, when you think about the entourage, you actually just break down what an entourage is. It's a group of people. It's a synergy. It's a vibe. It's fam. So when we think about utilizing the entourage effect while consuming cannabis, medicating with cannabis, or if you're in adult use state, using cannabis recreationally, even though, for the record, I think that all cannabis use is medicinal, no matter where you're using it or how you're using it. But the entourage effect is really, really important, especially for long-time habitual cannabis users. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But I just wanted to drop the definition about the entourage effect. See if you all had heard about the entourage effect beforehand. I actually hadn't heard about it until recently. So, jumping into talking a little bit more about how THC and CBD interact. So typically when people talk about the entourage effect, they're talking about having a healthy balance of cannabinoids, primarily THC and CBD, but it actually just doesn't stop there. And THC and CBD only remedies, by the way, aren't really sufficient for many medical conditions. When you think about how, CBD is actually being pitched in the news now, it's the new ginkgo biloba, or the new, what was the acai berry a couple of years ago, the new wonder drug. But when you think about how CBD actually interacts with your body, the endocannabinoid system, you would understand why you would want to use THC and CBD, if you can, simultaneously. That whole plant medicine actually is what people refer to when you're talking about broad spectrum. You want that whole plant. Here's an example. Think about the last time you were with family or friends and you were, say it was a potluck or Thanksgiving or Christmas, someplace where you actually had to have a meal, right? Now imagine if the host brought you a plate, because, the host serves the guests, right? Imagine if the host brought you a plate, and we'll say this is Thanksgiving. Traditional Thanksgiving meal is, I'm in the northern part of the country, so in Maryland, we eat turkey, we eat ham, we eat mashed potatoes, greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, all of that. We're kind of close to that southern line, so we still get big plates. So imagine if you came to dinner and the host gave you a slice of turkey, a scoop of mashed potatoes, and was like, here you go. You're going to wonder, where's the rest of the meal? And that's the same way that, cannabinoids and, consuming cannabis actually works in your body. You want to find that right balance, right? So, just thinking about the ways that we actually consume cannabis, through flower, through oils, through tinctures, topicals, vapes, suppositories, so many different ways. There's no one way that fits all. So thinking about varying out your methods, thinking about balancing, you have a little THC if you're not sensitive to CBD, or, vice versa, figure out a way to balance those two. So I love to talk about my glitter moment, because that's actually what brought me into the cannabis industry. That's one of the ways that, 1-to-3 ratio, yes, perfect. Actually, that's all about that balance and just testing out how that works. So jumping back to the glitter moment. So, in 2016, I found cannabis because if you are familiar with the 2001 Glitter movie with Mariah Carey, around that time she was acting very erratically in the news. And so, later we find out she was dealing with mental health, her mental health illness, and, now she's, been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. You kind of notice some of those, the ways in which we react. So I found cannabis, and no, I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar, but once I started to consume cannabis medicinally and in a very balanced way, I understood, this was a plant that was going to help me, far past any pharmaceutical company could provide. That with a balanced diet, exercise, water, family support, I think that it's one of the best ways to really sit down and think about your life, is just cannabis consumption. So that's why I am an advocate for cannabis. That's one of the reasons why I feel like it is important for, if you are a cannabis user, to break that stigma, having those conversations with family and friends, and that just goes along with responsible use. So another way that we want to talk about responsible use is there is ways to overconsume. we all have something that we love, and if you think about it, if you indulge in it a lot, it kind of lessens the glitter. It kind of lessens the excitement about a thing. So, one example that I'd love to present for you is think about when you were young. If you celebrate Christmas, think about how excited you were to get those gifts. Think about how excited you were to really, check off the list. And once you got that gift, you played with it all the time. Christmas morning, all the way through January 2nd. But come January 15th, 16th, were you still caring about that gift? No, because you probably used it way too much. Battery's broke, it's broken up, you got dirt in it, whatever. That's the same thing that can happen when you use cannabis. You can overindulge. You can use it irresponsibly. So here's some ways to really think about using cannabis that won't take you to a point where it is almost a hindrance or crutch to you moving forward, to you being great in life. Because just like a new relationship, that honeymoon period, once that's over, you look and you're like, well, damn, I gained 20 pounds. And this person right here, who I barely even recognize, I have no idea what's going on. So let's go ahead and talk about ways to use cannabis responsibly. So another way that you can also use cannabis responsibly is by using it in a wellness act. So, yoga, meditation, singing in the shower, before bed, ways that are calming and relaxing. Or if you're about to tackle a really big project, I find that a bit of sativa, a bit of a CBD will help really energize me to push through a project. So not only thinking about it as something that you do habitual, think about doing it as an action as well. So doing it in conjunction with, if you feel that your cannabis usage has gone up. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause here, check my chats, grab a little water, and then I'll answer any questions. I have one more point, and that's actually about tolerance breaks. But I'm going to go ahead, check in, see how everyone's doing, see if there's any questions, and we'll move on from there. So, yes. My lips are also dry, y'all. This is what happens. No one tells you about the dry mouth. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to go ahead. Try it out. Boom. We're just live and direct. I'm just going to give you everything. So, jumping into tolerance. Long-term users, short-term users, new users, you have to be aware of your tolerance, right? When it comes to cannabis consumption, every THC level, every terpene that you consume, every cannabinoid that you introduce to your endocannabinoid system, it is important because it affects your tolerance. Question: have you ever heard someone say, man, I can't even get high like I used to. It's always a chasing here, a chasing there. There's no real balance, right? So one, when you feel that way, it may be time to take a tolerance break. And basically a tolerance break is you stop. You stop consumption, whether it's a tailored off piece or if it's a cold turkey. You completely stop consuming and you just wait. Your tolerance levels will decrease. They say it takes at least 3 days to really notice an actual difference in your tolerance level. But I think that in 24 hours, you can completely reset your system and then slowly introduce the flower or how you're consuming it back into your system. So recently, I took a bit of a tolerance break, and I'm actually thinking about taking another one. And it's actually a THC only break. I want to work with decreasing some of my anxiety. I have a really crazy season coming up. We're working on some great events. I have another organization that's keeping me very, very busy in addition to my home life. I want to make sure that my anxiety stays very low because anxiety hits you at 3 a.m. after you've gotten a good sleep and your melatonin is worn off, you know? So making sure that you have that balance, taking 2 to 3 days, at least 24 hours from consuming or decreasing the limit or the amount that you are consuming should really help if you feel like your tolerance is completely out of the roof or completely out of whack or through the roof. That's where I was going. So what I'm actually going to do now, because that's the end of our training, I'm going to hop back in the Garden Club on Facebook, answer some questions, talk about some things that we have going on. So I'm going to say goodbye to our YouTube family. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions about the entourage effect, if you have any questions about tolerance, if you have any questions about starting a business in the cannabis industry, we have a webinar coming up September 2nd, September 1st, Labor Day weekend, that Monday, so I think it's the 2nd. Yes, it's the 2nd, at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be here presenting about how you can build your own cannabis-based business on the go. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, leave a comment, tag us on Instagram, send us a pigeon, anything, we'll be sure to get back to you. So goodbye for now, YouTube, Facebook folks, hold on. All right.